It is rumoured that Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen will be returning as the main cast of characters in the next Zombies game for 2025. However, it won't be the PRIMIS or Ultimus versions of them, it will be an older version of Nikolai, Takeo, Richtofen and Dempsey. This is according to one of the most credible and biggest leakers within gaming, that in Black Ops 7, which is what this year's COD is going to be called, they'll be back. But how? They died. We saw it. Their story finished a long time ago now in Black Ops 4. Those characters, besides from Richtofen, his situation is a tiny bit different because we still have one version of him alive, currently in Black Ops 6, but as for Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, each and every version of them is dead. But I don't think I ever actually asked the question, did they really die? Because we've seen many situations in gaming, not just Call of Duty, but Zombies is a prime example where characters die, we thought they were dead, and it turns out they're not. In one way or another, they come back to life. Now, in a lot of situations where that's happened in the past in Zombies, that's because of the multiverse, meaning depending on how many different dimensions we have, we don't know the exact number, but there were possibly hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of different versions of all of our characters. So if one of them died in a certain universe, then they still exist in the other ones out there. But at the end of Tagto Toten, the multiverse was destroyed, destroying every dimension that existed, besides from one. Meaning that possibility of, okay, if a character dies in one dimension, there's still many of them that exist, is no longer a possibility. Once a character is dead, they should be, unless they get resurrected, be dead forever. Now, what happened when the multiverse was destroyed was everything got banished to the Dark Aether, so every little thing that existed in that old timeline, with 4 exceptions, was banished to the Dark Aether. Dr. Monty, Element 115, the Keepers, all of our Zombies maps and locations, everything to do with the old storyline was banished to the Dark Aether. And because the Dark Aether still exists in the current Zombies storyline in Black Ops 6, Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 3, that means there is a possibility everything that was banished to the Dark Aether after Tagto Toten can return. There is a small possibility that Dr. Monty could come back. There is a small possibility that the Victus characters could come back. That is the reason why we see Ted in Black Ops 6 on the back of Weaver's operator skin. He's been retrieved from the Dark Aether. That is the reason why we have the ray gun in Black Ops 6 and the perp machines. Granted, they look a bit different, but they have the same abilities that they had in World at War, Black Ops 1, 2, 3, and 4. Juggernog, Speed Cola, Stamina Up, etc. Everything that we had in Zombies from World at War to Black Ops 4 has the possibility to return in Black Ops 6 or beyond in the next game, Black Ops 7, because it was banished to the Dark Aether. But that wasn't exactly the case for Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey. Their situation was different. Every other single little thing or big thing was banished to the Dark Aether, no matter if it or they were dead. Because of the multiverse, they would have been alive in a different dimension and then been banished to the Dark Aether. But Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey's situation was different, which is why we all assumed there was zero possibility that they could ever return. Their story was over. However, with these leaks telling us that in Black Ops 7 they are going to return just an older version of them that we haven't seen before, it won't be PRIMIS, it won't be Ultimus, but it will be Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen. How is this even possible? If that's the case, if they are coming back, then they didn't actually die. Just in case you aren't fully aware of the old storyline, how it ended, and you aren't aware as to why Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey's situation was different to everyone else's, was because their souls were linked through the Aether, and without them, the multiverse wouldn't exist. Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey created the multiverse, and the only way it could be destroyed is if each and every version of them died.
The Aether. It knows it must keep them alive. It knows it must bind them to their existence. This corruption that has been spread through the universe, then it was unleashed upon the earth. It had no way of knowing. It would be bound to the four. Nikolai and the others, if they succeed. Element 115, the Keepers, the corruption, everything. It will be banished to the place below creation. The place of darkness. Alone is Dr. Monty.
When Richtofen forged the elemental shard, he had to do it by bounding his soul along with Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey's through the Aether, and upon doing so, every single version of them then became connected and linked entirely through the infinite, meaning they were all One, they each gave each other life, and the fate of one of them was tied to the other. They created the paradox, the multiverse. It wouldn't and couldn't exist without them. And so when you saw Nikolai destroy the multiverse in the Tag Toten ending, along with him poisoning the rest of his teammates and then ultimately getting Samantha to shoot him in the head, killing him, he realised that because the two were linked, they had to go. Destroying the multiverse destroyed each and every version of them out there, and then with just this one set of them remaining in the forest, in order to destroy this last remaining corrupted universe, they killed themselves, which means it then would have been sent to the Dark Aether, allowing the two children, Samantha and Eddie, to walk off into the light, into a new singular universe that had been created, one that was free of corruption, or at least it was supposed to be. As we've seen in Black Ops 6, that's not exactly how it's turned out. But you can understand what I'm saying there. Everything else a part of that old zombie storyline still has the possibility to come back because it was banished to the Dark Aether. Everything a part of the multiverse was banished there when it was destroyed, but because Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richthofen were bound to the multiverse because they were interwoven into it, when it was destroyed, all versions of them were destroyed as well, instead of being banished to the Dark Aether. So now that you understand that, you can then understand why we all just assumed we would never see these characters again. It was impossible because they didn't exist. They were not banished to the Dark Aether alive. But knowing if this rumour or leak is true, that we'll be seeing an older version of them in Black Ops 7, then that tells us we are wrong, right? Somewhere here, we are incorrect, and they clearly didn't die. And the only possibility I can think of is, yes, each and every version of them was destroyed along with the multiverse, but when you see them kill themselves in the Tag Toten ending and you see their dead bodies lying on the floor, meaning this remaining universe could then be banished to the Dark Aether as well, if their dead bodies were banished to the Dark Aether, somehow, perhaps later on in the Black Ops 6 zombie storyline, will their dead bodies be resurrected, causing them to come back to life? There are loads of different conspiracy theories you could then come up with to suggest how this would happen. Maybe Eddie Richthofen is going to use the Sentinel artifact to resurrect their dead bodies. Has he found them within the Dark Aether and is going to try and manipulate Prim materia to somehow do that? I don't know. Could their dead bodies have been reanimated by the Dark Aether and bring them back to life as zombies? Surely if their souls were bound to the Aether, when the multiverse was destroyed, their souls would have been destroyed as well, meaning if their dead bodies were banished to the Dark Aether, they wouldn't have had a soul. So if they do come back that way through their corpses, how are they going to get their souls back if they no longer exist? And it would also bring up the question, why would Treyarch do this? You would think with them killing them off in Tag Toten, that would mean that's the end of their story. Treyarch did that for a reason. They could have easily continued. From what I've seen in Black Ops Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 3, and now Black Ops 6, it feels like Treyarch wanted to take zombies in a different direction, at the same time giving us a new main cast of characters, Weaver, Carver, Gray, and Strauss, or at the moment Maya. But we also know these characters are going to die. We've seen that in the Modern Warfare 3 zombies ending cutscene. They are dead, lying around a table in the future, so these characters are going to die. Whether or not they stay dead is a different story, but we do know they die in the future. I think it's 1991, just going off memory, so 5 years from now. If the current cast of characters die, that means Treyarch will need another cast to replace them unless they intend on ending Call of Duty Zombies, and that new cast of characters to replace the current ones could be the return of Richthofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey. Maybe that's one reason why Treyarch would want to bring them back, because they need a new cast of characters going forward into the future, and it's either they do introduce us to yet another new cast, or they reintroduce us, they bring back older versions of Richthofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, characters that they know we love. Another reason I could see Treyarch wanting to bring them back is because a lot of people still hate the Tag Toten ending. I actually think it was okay. I was content with how their story ended, but a lot of people thought they weren't given the send-off they deserved. At the end of the day, it wasn't a happy ending. They didn't get to go off in the sunset, they didn't get to put their feet up and rest, they didn't go on to live a happy life after the zombie outbreak ended. They died, they were killed, they sacrificed themselves, and to make that even worse, they really did it for nothing. Okay, they brought an end to the cycle, but one of the main intentions for them doing that was to allow Samantha and Eddie a better life. However, in Black Ops 6, the zombie outbreaks are happening again. What's going on for those two right now really doesn't seem any better, kind of diminishing the whole point of Richthofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey sacrificing themselves in the first place. So on the other hand, I could say, well, that's a couple of reasons why perhaps Treyarch would want to bring them back, because they didn't get the good ending, you could say. Their sacrifice was kind of diminished, so perhaps bring them back to give them a better ending this time. I mean, that's nice, but I don't think that would be Treyarch's reasoning. The other point is, one of the main contributors to their death, one of the main people behind that decision, would have been Jason Blundell. He left near or at the end of Black Ops 4. If I'm not wrong in saying this, it was Craig Houston and Jason Blundell who wrote the story together during that time. So 50% of that decision of them dying would have been Jason's. Craig Houston is still here. He's still the main writer for the zombie storyline currently in Black Ops 6. But maybe it was Jason Blundell who wanted that ending for Black Ops 4. Maybe that was never what Craig Houston wanted. That wasn't his main decision. So could he want to bring them back because, well, he never wanted them to die in the first place? Again, there are plenty of theories you could come up with for that. It doesn't really matter. The one question you have to ask is, well, they were supposed to be dead forever. It was supposed to be an impossibility for them to return. Unlike every other character, their deaths was permanent. But clearly, if they do bring them back, then they never actually truly died. Because there is a difference in Call of Duty Zombies between being dead and being dead. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about this. I'd be interested to see what you guys are thinking. Drop a like rating if you've enjoyed. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel to stay up to date with the latest videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.